Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Rosa Maria Paya of the Christian Liberation and daughter of the National Coordinator Oswaldo Paya, opposition leader and recipient of the Sakharov Prize of the European Parliament. My father dedicated his life to working for legal, peaceful change so that Cubans can enjoy all their rights. He promoted the Varela project, which was a request for a referendum supported by more than 225,000 citizens who had defied repression to call for changes in the laws guaranteeing freedom of expression, association, free elections, freedom for peaceful political prisoners, and the possibility of having private companies in the country. To date, the government refuses to carry out this plebiscite and has jailed most of its leaders. Yosvani Melchor Rodriguez is 30 years old and has spent 3 years in prison as a punishment because his mother is a member of our movement. The Cuban authorities said that my father and Harold Cepero, a young activist, died in a traffic accident. But after interviews were held with others, we have confirmed that the murders were not accidental. Point of order, says the President. There's a point of order from the delegation of Cuba. Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for the noise in the room, but it was necessary to interrupt the event by the mercenary who has dared to come to this room. We would like to ask Mr. President, if this debate on item 4 is aimed at referring to general questions which may show a pattern of violations of human rights, or whether it is also to be used to address specific issues, such as what is just being done now by the mercenary who has been taking the floor at this juncture. We have this concern, Mr. President, and we would be very grateful if you could clarify things for us. And if you could show to this to the mercenary who is in the statement. Thank you.
Mr. President, we respectfully ask that you rule that the speaker be allowed to finish his or her presentation. Thank you.
The Chinese delegation believes that the concern of the Cuban delegation is valid.
Our delegation would like to support what has been said by the delegation of Cuba, objecting to the procedure being used for conducting the meeting.
Support the point of order raised by the Cuban delegation. Thank you.
My delegation is asking for the floor to support the request put forward by Cuba in its point of order. Thank you very much. Mr. President, the delegation of Belarus joins with the well-founded statement on the point of order and procedural issues as raised by the delegation of Cuba. Thank you. I would like to remind the organizations that are speaking that we are on agenda item 4, the human rights situation which require attention in the Council, and that they confine to that subject matter in their statements.
Gracias, señor presidente.
President, the driver of the car stated to the Washington Post that they were deliberately rammed into from behind. The text messages the state security services of the Cuban government are calling my family's house in Havana to say we're going to kill you. The same death threats were extended to my father. It's the responsibility of the Cuban government to ensure the physical integrity of the members of my family. Today we are making an appeal signed by 46 political leaders and activists from the entire world. We'd call upon the United Nations to start an independent investigation into the death of my father. Truth is essential in the process of reconciliation that the democratic transition in Cuba so requires. We do not seek vengeance. It is our right to know who is responsible for the death of my father. When will there be a response to the demands for the human rights of the people of Cuba in enjoying democracy and basic freedom? Thank you, Mr. President.
President, an anti-Cuban mercenary addressed Council today to try to blame the Cuban government for the death of her father, who died last year in a car accident. This mercenary was accredited by United Nations Watch, a reactionary NGO without any credibility. Nobody takes it seriously, and it only works for the service of the United States. Rosa Maria Paya is a created, invented individual, financed and promoted by the US government. She has close relations with the US Interest Office in Havana, which she has visited on many occasions. As regards the alleged facts, nobody in their right mind would believe them. During the oral and public hearing, and on the basis of abundant proof, including expert proof, it was shown that Ángel Caromero was driving at well above 120 kilometers an hour, and it was his lack of attention and care, the fact that he was driving too fast, and a wrong decision to step on the brakes too hard on a slippery surface that caused this tragic accident, which cost the life of two individuals. Both Ángel Caromero in fact recognized this. Both Rosa Maria Paya and Regis Iglesias, speaking on behalf of another phony NGO, are vulgar agents paid by the US government, paid and educated and trained by the US government in order to bring about a regime change in Cuba. They both work for those who are in favor of the blockade and aggression against their own people.